Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hello, everybody. Are you awake? I had a long night. We have a neighbor with a really big dog, and that dog broke its post it was tied to. And being the friendly, lovely, neighborly dog it was saying good morning and good night and hello to us all evening and all morning. So, yeah, there was that. For those of you that love dogs, try chatting to it all night long. It can get to you. But I'm here. It's Friday. We're at the end of the week, and we kept one of the best shows yet. Leigh Vossen, S.A.M, students that get mandated. See, I'm tired. Students against mandates. You'll be able to hear from her and get an update from last year. She's here bright and early, as all students are. They're up early, and they gotta go quickly. So we have just 1 hour with her, but that's awesome. I'm glad that she was able to make it and give us an update on her efforts. And good morning, Mayor. Your first. Good morning, buddy. Let us know how you're doing. Hit me in the DM. Let me know an update on that text you sent me. I'll let you know that Dr. Mack has responded, and he does want to be on the show. We're just going to work out the dates. So we'll have a nice little conversation with him about vaccine injury and how Canada is addressing it or not. But we'll go through that with him as well. And then good morning, Clay. Now I can wake up. This is all I'm missing, Clay, is my coffee with you, bud. Oh, Clay, I'm awake now. Thank you. It's all I needed. And good morning, Azario. So, Azario, did you see that on Twitter? There was a mic drop. Don't worry about it. I didn't actually really drop this mic. I wouldn't do that. You did a great job on making sure we have the sound for the show. So I'll take good care of this. But for those that didn't see, Andrew Lawton, he was on the show just 2 weeks ago. We spoke for like 2 whole hours. Cordial, friendly, happy, talking about independent journalism, how we're not tied to a machine. And then for some reason, he decides to attack Maxime, makes it look like Maxime was part of the WEF, when Andrew himself was at Davos and he knows who was there, and Max wasn't there. And then I, challenged Andrew and I said, look, man, we know that he wasn't on their website. We know Pierre was on the website. Justin's still there. Christia's still there. And Jagmeet's still there. But Max was never there. He doesn't seem to want to address that part. He just wanted to bring up a picture from last year and said, here's what the rooms look like. You tell me these aren't nefarious. But he was there in 2008 on official Canadian business. So I'm not sure what Andrew's trying to do. It didn't seem very independent, the conversations I had with him. I did reach out to him behind the scenes and say, hey, happy to come on your show. You can come on my show. We can talk about this. Because that's what he just did with Max. He said, instead of having an internet or a Twitter feud with you, come on my show and we'll chat. So I offered the same thing to Andrew. So Andrew, if you're still tuning in, because I know you used to be a fan, let's chat. Let's all have an open chat. What is the relevance of WEF with Max, with Pierre? Let's go ahead and chat about that. Something tells me you don't want to lose some access to something if you do that, because you really do not want to cover the full story. You certainly want to cover part of the story. So Andrew, little disappointed, like Max said to you during his interview, he's a little disappointed in you. So am I. You really should be covering the full story. This is what you told me you would do. This is what you told me you do. And I'm still holding out hope that, yeah, Andrew, you can do the right thing here, bud. Just tell the whole story. What's wrong with that? From my perspective, it doesn't make the CPC look good. So that could be why. Andrew, is that really the case? Are you a mouthpiece, or are you a reporter? Are you part of the propaganda, or are you independent? I'd love to talk to you about it. And maybe we shouldn't keep doing the Twitter thing, like you said to Max. Maybe we should do this on a show. I have one. You have one. We can Ghostbuster this. We can cross the streams. So let's figure this out, Andrew. But on that note, I just wanted to leave that out there because it's been spicy. It's been spicy. So thank you very much, Andrew, for responding. And I would like to know whether or not, independent journalist, what happens when 2 of them come together and they tackle the full issue. I think that might be a good thing, Andrew. So hopefully you hear this and hopefully you reach back out. I would like to see you again. All right, folks, I don't want to take up too much time saying hello to you, because I'm going to have a full hour after we get to our guest, because she's got to go. She's a student and she's changing the world one item at a time. So let me bring her in. Good morning, Leigh.
Morning, everyone. Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, sorry about that. I had to quickly say hello to everybody, let them know what Andrew's doing online. He's an independent reporter like me, but for some reason, um, there's a side being picked there. So I just want to talk about that quickly, and then we're going to steal as much of your time as we can today.
Let's do it.
Okay, great. So I'm going to let my Ali know. Ali is my little producer. Well, not little. He's a good guy. But Ali, everything's cut in half. Okay, everything's cut in half because we're going to do this for 1 hour instead of 2 hours. So let's just do some math behind the scenes and we'll go. All right. So on that note, who are you? Why don't you let us know?
Well, I could give a little introduction. My name is Leigh Vossen. I was a student at Red River College back during the pandemic. I wasn't able to finish my program because of the mandates that were in place. So I started an organization. Actually, it was before I essentially wasn't able to finish. But while I was a student, I started an organization called Students Against Mandates that essentially worked to eliminate all mandates across Canadian university and college campuses. So I wasn't expecting what it turned into, but it kind of created a little bit of a movement there. So it's kind of cool.
So you saw something you didn't like. It directly affected you and the people around you. And at a young age, you said, look, these people are saying we need to do this, but I don't agree. Now, what was it that kind of made you say, I'm not interested? Was it just it was a vaccine or a mask, or was it because of authority, or was there something else that you said, I'm going to sign up to this one? I don't think that works well.
Well, there were quite a number of things. So, yeah, I don't know why this is for me, but I was not afraid when I heard there was a pandemic or a virus going around. I thought, okay, well, I'll look into it because it sounds like a lot of people don't have information. We don't know how deadly it is. We don't have the facts on it.
Mm-hmm.
So as time was coming out, we learned, there's 99.98% survival rate. I was like, well, that's a good sign. And then we learned, well, there are certain people who are more at risk than others. We noticed that people who were dying from COVID were over life expectancy, average life expectancy. People with pre-existing conditions. I looked at it. I was like, I'm a young, I think it was 26 at the time, a young 26-year-old. It seems like I have really good odds here. And then I looked at the vaccine, which I might, if I hadn't looked into it, I might have just said, it doesn't seem like a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
But I realized it wasn't necessary for me because of my age and health. And then I thought, well, there's no longitudinal studies. Typical vaccines take years for clinical trials. My sister's actually, she was a virologist. She had a degree in microbiome and immunology. She worked in a virology lab. At the very beginning, she was like, these headlines don't really make sense. This isn't what a virologist would say. So there were a lot of things. But I would say the biggest one for me was seeing the push. So as soon as the government was really, really pushing it and they started bullying people, I was like, that's not what true leadership is. And there's this concerted effort to divide people. And that raised alarm bells for me. And I was like, I don't want to do what these people are trying to force us to do. And the fact that they're actually saying, don't look into it, don't do your own research, don't have conversation, shame people who do. I was like, I don't like this. We've seen this sort of stuff in history. I like to read. It seemed like a bit of a pattern, and I noticed ideology sort of even before COVID that I wasn't really liking. So I just said no. Long-winded answer.
No, perfect answer. Now, as a student at the time where you're there to get an education, learn how to learn, expand your mind, fill it up with good information and knowledge, and sometimes more importantly, fill it up with the ability to learn how to learn, because that's a skill in
Yeah.
itself. And while you're doing that, at the same time, you have this administration and these medical professionals and experts and media and government saying, ignore all that, just listen to me, do what I say, and don't question me. Like you had a new parent, just do as I say, not as I do. What is that pull like inside of you as an individual? I'm here to learn, but I'm being told to not use my mind. I'm here to fill my brain, but I'm being told to ignore it. I'm here to discover, but I'm told to close my eyes. What kind of education are you going to get when that's kind of the environment you're in?
Well, that's the really unfortunate part. I'd been noticing that for a long time, even before COVID, is that our institutions are not teaching students to think critically. They should be giving us all the tools and information to think critically and sort of come up with our own conclusions on certain things. Like obviously there's like math and whatnot, you teach that skill, but I was noticing these places were becoming indoctrination institutions, and I found that very concerning. I didn't like the education I was getting. I noticed it was very biased. I was doing business administration. I also had previous education. I completed other programs. But this one I decided to go back to just because it was the pandemic, and I thought, okay, I could learn accounting. So despite it being an accounting program, business admin program, I was having projects where it'd be, okay, we just want you to learn how to present something. Your choices for presentation is going to be on climate change or misinformation, or so it's topics like that. And I thought, why are they these? Or misogyny was another one. And I was like, why are these the topics just to practice public speaking? Why can't I do any topic? And you'd hear sort of the presentations from the students, and I thought this is really, really scary because it's all very left leaning, and there's no room for more right leaning ideas or thoughts. And yeah, I was having a lot of conversations with my family about this before the pandemic even started, where I was like, this is just really not okay. And I now at this point, I'm not too upset that I didn't finish my program. I mean, I spent a lot of money and time on that, and I never got the papers at the end there, but I thought I wasn't learning anything. And I learned more through starting this organization and having the conversations that I had through my platform and my channel. I have a podcast. So I was talking to doctors and thought leaders and politicians. I was learning so much more through that. And even like the structure of the organization, having a team, learning how to manage a team, everything. I was like, I didn't get an education at school. I got one through my nonprofit. So
You're exactly the type of student we're looking for, right? You're exactly the type of youth that we want. One that can be critical thinking, that can stand up and work hard against whatever she believes in. But yet the system itself was trying to take that out of you, whether it was beat it out of you or whatever you want to call it. But they were trying to get that behavior taken out of you. I am so heartbroken because there's going to be a lot of students who were stronger until they went through it, and now they're not as strong and they're far more compliant in other things too now. So I'm really sad to hear that that happened to you, because I strongly believe there would have been a lot of people not as strong as you. So yay to you for getting through that, seeing through that, and finding a different path for you, because it could have been a lot easier to just say, oh, it's just a mask. Like we heard so many people say that. It's just a mask. It's just a vax. What's the big deal? Well,
it's not.
let's go into that. You've been speaking to doctors on your podcast. You've been speaking to a lot of people. You've been getting out there, getting some more information. Are there any consequences to long-term mask wearing of the same one? Are there any long-term consequences to taking a vax? Are we hearing any stories about people having challenges? So can we now answer that question that was asked of us before? What's the big deal? I think we can answer that now.
Yeah, I think people on both sides have agreed that I'll start with mask wearing. That mask wearing has been incredibly harmful, especially for young children and the development of young children. So actually, I have a friend my sister's friend who doesn't agree with my views, but she's still pleasant and stuff. I have conversations with her, and she was pointing out, she's like, I work at this daycare, and I'm noticing. But whereas before the pandemic, there would be maybe one or two children who were suffering from like ADHD or something, and they had a lot of problems with just focusing in class and absorbing the information. It's not class, but in a daycare, they do activities and stuff.
Yep.
And she's like, now it's like 98% of the class. I can't get any of them to sit and listen. Again, I keep saying class, but the group to sit and listen or do the activities or she's like, I'm even noticing children with signs of depression, and I have to talk to their parents and say, like, I'm really concerned about your child. And this is daycare, so they're really, really young kids. And she's like, I don't understand what's going on. I think it had to do with the masks and how they weren't able to see each other's faces. And during those stages, you're really absorbing a lot and learning how to read facial expressions and interactions between people. These children have really lost out on those key things in life, and we're seeing the effects of it. And it's really hard to hear that there's all these children in one daycare who are experiencing signs of depression, where she's like, I just wasn't seeing that before. Like, you see happy kids, typically these
Hmm.
children are depressed. So there's that. But then in terms of university students, I've absolutely seen an effect. And even for myself, I noticed over the course of the pandemic, um, I was a very like social person. There's extrovert, introvert in me, but I was very comfortable talking to people. And I noticed sort of when I was going back into society to talk to people, I was nervous. Like, I was like, I feel like I don't remember how to talk to people properly, or like do like over a Zoom call. I was in a workplace situation where I had to do like this big Zoom call with 40 people. And I got so nervous, I almost couldn't speak. I was like, I've done this a million times before in front of people, and I can't speak right now. And so I've got those skills back again, but I actually kind of lost them for a bit. And yeah, you see how people struggle. I've had a lot of messages from students saying, I feel suicidal, I feel depressed, I feel hopeless. When I go to school, I can't talk to anyone. I still have to stay 6 feet apart. When we wear masks, it's really, really hard to interact with students. So I've been going to university, but I'm not getting the university experience. And I just feel completely bitter and hopeless and sad. And those are like key moments in a young person's life. People typically make their friends in college that are lifelong friends. 26% of people meet their potential spouse at university or college. And we're missing that now. Like, those experience and moments aren't happening. And how do you like quantify that? How do you like put that into numbers? Oh, this many people missed out on meeting their partner. Like, you can't really quantify that, but it's very
No,
unfortunate. It's very real, and people are finding themselves with mental health issues now, especially young people.
you're not wrong about everything you just said there, but you didn't die of COVID, so it was worth it, right? You would have had a lot worse. It would have been a lot worse for you, right? We all would have dropped dead in the street if we didn't do this, right? The social anxiety that you're describing is so obvious all over the place now with adult and children. And again, when you're telling me these stories, I know it's true. But here's the steps with the children. You don't have any children yet, I assume, right?
No.
Okay. Here's the way it works with children. First, you put the mask on, then they take it off, and then you put the mask on, then they take it off, because their initial instinct is, I don't want this on. This is not what they put on. They don't want it on. So, being children, especially young, they're going to take it off. So, the very first stage with these young ones is to break them. You have to break them
Yeah.
of trying to take this off. You have to explain to them, with them not understanding, that they just have to listen to you. It has to happen no matter what they want on their face. That is staying there. They're going to get slapped. They're going to be yelled at. They're going to be told. It's going to be happening over and over again. So the very first stage is you got to break the child. The child has
Yeah.
to surrender and give in to you to do something. It has no idea why you're doing it. It didn't sit there and watch Dr. Fauci try to explain it and use their own logic to try and understand it. They didn't sit there and get explained by their parents, we're doing this because of this virus. And even if they did, they have no idea what that means. So the
Yeah.
first step is to break the child into compliance. So no wonder they seem to be depressed. No wonder they seem to be withdrawn, because the first thing that happened to them is their parents broke them, broke that trust, broke that understanding, broke that communication, had to force them into compliance. So I'm not surprised to hear this, that even at daycare age, they're displaying broken human tendencies, which is depressed. I don't know what to do. I don't know who I am. I don't know where I am. Like, you'll get depressed in that. So
Yeah.
they were saying, hey, we're just helping you from this COVID thing, but they really broke an entire group of people, the youth, all actually, and all ages. It's not an age related thing, but it's just super sad that for the young ones, they still don't know why they got broke, but they did. What do you think about that? Because you're young as well, and you're kind of getting all these messages, but you're a lot older than the daycare students. But for them to comply, to wear the mask, to play with the mask on, for them to keep it on, they had to go through this stage of being forced into it.
Yeah.
So do you think that may have had an effect on them?
Oh, no doubt. Exactly what you said, that has an effect on them. And you're right, they're completely broken. And I think parents are seeing that. In addition, I had I have a friend who is part of S.A.M, who she worked at an elementary school, and they would separate the vaccinated from the unvaccinated students during lunch. And like the unvaccinated students would have to sit at a separate table, spaced apart. They couldn't really interact with other students. They couldn't like even go out and play at recess for a time because they couldn't be around the other vaccinated students to protect the vaccinated students. Things like that. I'm like, what does that do to kids? And the kids don't have a choice in terms of getting vaccinated because their parents don't want them to,
Mhm.
which I praise their parents for doing. Like, that's fantastic. But these children are sitting here with they've not chosen this to be completely isolated from their peers, and they're being ostracized and even bullied. Like the students who are vaccinated got stickers that they got to then go put on one side of the board to say like these students are vaccinated, and then the unvaccinated students, sort of in like a walk of shame, had to get up and put their name on the other side of the board, and they didn't get like a little sticker with it. They had to like write their name on the board or something. And my friend was saying like it made me so angry. And she's like, I had to go just like say something to them like, it's okay, you'll get through this, kind of thing. But the children even started playing vaccine clinic, and they chased the other students around the yard who said, no, my dad said I shouldn't get a vaccine, and they pushed them to the ground and fake vaccinate them as like their game. And I'm like, this is, children shouldn't know about this stuff. Like it shouldn't be all consuming for them. I didn't know anything about what was happening in the world when I was a little girl playing, at the play structure. I was just playing like kick the can or whatever. I'm not playing vaccine clinic,
Right.
just I'm really concerned to see what those people are going to be like when they're older and the state of their mental health, because even looking at the people my age, it's even hard to sort of make new friends and things like that with
Mm.
just seeing how their mental health isn't good. My old friends were like not wanting to ever go out. They don't want to go out and socialize with people. They just want to stay home and watch movies. And it's not good. We're young. Like, go out and meet people, socialize. But their social anxiety is just so high. They don't want to put themselves in situations where it makes them anxious or uncomfortable. And like, well, you have to kind of go through that. Go through a bit of adversity and make it out on the other side. It's not that bad, but they'd rather be completely alone. Um, anyways, yeah.
No, that's horrible, and you're right. That whole thing on the playground where the kids are chasing the other ones, jumping on them, vaccinating them. Those kids are playing out what adults would do if they could. And there's a lot of people that said, do exactly that. Go chase the unvaccinated and vaccinate them by force. They built camps in Australia. There's rumors there's camps, or at least places that were going to be camps in Canada. So I'm very curious. Well, actually, let's look at it this way. Watch the playground to see how their parents would act.
Yeah.
And yeah, they certainly would go chase another group, isolate a group, and do all that. Now, here's something that also dawned on me while you're talking. So this kid decides, well, they don't decide. The parents decide no vax for you. All right, they're ostracized now. No mask for you. All right, you got to sit kind of isolated in class. So now that you've been through all the way that way, you're by yourself in the class. Guess what today's subject is? Critical race theory. So while you've done all of that, you know, get to sit there and learn how horrible you are because of the color of your skin.
Yeah.
How are we not so concerned about the depression and other issues that are going to be coming out of this? How are we overlooking all of that just for conforming, just for being able to get these people to break and make sure that they conform going forward? I am so sad right now that I'm even having a hard time articulating it, because I'm picturing in my mind that kid. And look, this left does this all the time. That 6-year-old girl who doesn't know what people are talking about and she doesn't feel safe to put up her hand. We got to make sure that we can get everybody in there. But what about that 6-year-old girl whose parents are protecting her, not comfortable with the vaccine? She's now in this class. She didn't get a sticker. She had to write her name there. She's sitting in this one side with just a couple other kids who are also keeping their heads down because they can't really make eye contact. Nobody's talking to them. And then they're told that their race is the reason why everybody is having difficulty. Explain to me what you think that 6-year-old girl's mind would be, and would you be surprised if she became antisocial, had a social anxiety and depression?
Well, yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. That's what it's doing to people. Like they are going to be extremely depressed. And I don't doubt there's going to be a spike in like suicide rates or things like that. I mean, I can't say that and say 100% I know that, but I look at what this is like. You're torturing people, you're abusing people. And there's a question here saying like, between this one, abusive spouse in a relationship versus like government behavior, it's the exact same. When you're being abused by a spouse, a lot of people become extremely mentally unhealthy. We're being abused by our government, by our institutions. Humans are social creatures. They need to interact with other humans. And when you ostracize humans, especially young people who need, like, those are just crucial moments in your life, where you learn and develop a lot of skills, social skills. No doubt you're setting them up for failure for their future. Yeah, they're going to be depressed. Yeah, they're going to have mental health issues. They're going to have anxiety issues. They're not going to know how to interact properly. And we're seeing it. Like, I'm noticing with my interactions with people. I met up with a lot of people during the pandemic, even just like one-on-one coffees or walks and stuff like that. People who are isolated and alone. And I was seeing firsthand how they were doing, and they're not doing well. Like, a lot of these people were really, really struggling, and that was hard to see, but that kind of like pushed me to keep contacting people, or people contact my group, and then I'd say, let's meet in person. Let's not just message over this. If you're in Winnipeg, I'll meet with you. So yeah, I was seeing it firsthand, and that all that stuff was really pulling me forward and pushing me to keep doing what I was doing with my group.
Well, good news from that side, though. The left has some good news for you. So the first phase is to break you. So you're going to do what they say. The second phase was to depress you. So things kind of really suck. But don't worry, they're going to follow that up with pride. So if you don't feel good, maybe you're something else. And no matter what your choices and what your family's doing, you get to ignore them on this one, because we're going to make you feel good. And everything you feel bad about is not related to the vax or the parents or your race that we're telling you is so horrible. It's actually because you're somebody else. So why don't you ignore all of that stuff, and we will welcome you into this community now and make you feel very full of pride. So are we seeing like step 1, break, step 2, depress, step 3, transition?
Yeah.
Are you seeing something here? Or are we connecting dots that are not really there? Or are we seeing something here?
Well, again, like, I saw a lot of this stuff before the pandemic, where years ago, when I first heard about people wanting to use different pronouns, I was like, well, I don't, these are people with mental health problems. And I realized that there's nothing they can do in terms of like, we haven't done enough studies to find out why this is happening. There's no sort of cure for gender dysmorphia. So I was like, yeah, I'm fine with respecting their pronouns. But even just a few like short years later, I start to notice actually the danger of not just telling the truth and sticking
Right.
to reality. And I changed my view on that, where I was like, no, this is actually really, really dangerous. And this ideology is dangerous. And I see where it's leading to. And I do see this concerted effort. I've seen this concerted effort to break down the family unit, to separate families, to build distrust in families. The pandemic really did a great job of that as well. And you're right, like these different steps to getting people, like, make them mentally unwell, make them unhappy, sort of in their bodies or with their mind, make them confused. And leading them down that path only makes them more upset. I was actually just recently on a Reddit, I was interested for detransitioners, and there were a lot of comments saying, why are we not allowed? Why don't our voices matter? Why aren't we allowed to speak up? And I think if there were people who heard about these people, the detransitioners, they might question, well, do I really want to go down this path? But all they're hearing is affirming sort of comments and dialogue. There's no one just telling them the truth, saying, you can't change your gender. You are what you are. And let's try to find a way to make you content in your body, rather than making your body match your mind, like where your mind's at. Why don't we try to change where your mind's at, not cut off your breasts or do bottom surgery? And I just saw some images on Instagram the other day of what that looks like,
Right.
what they do for those surgeries. It's horrifying how Two, how are we doing this to our young people, our children? Like they're not even at the age where they can understand the implications of what they're doing, these surgeries. And then parents are being told, well, your child will commit suicide if you don't go through with this. So parents are really put in this difficult position. Do I lose sort of my son becomes a daughter, or do they do they die? Like I don't know what I would do if I really believed that, right? That'd be a really scary situation to be in. So I feel for these parents, but they need to step up and say no. We're going to get them the care they actually need, which I think is a therapist and we need to do more research. This was actually interesting. I'd watched a Dave Rubin episode like years ago. And this woman who was trying to do research into why people have gender dysmorphia was attacked. She was censored. And she's like, I had no bias. I don't care. I'm just like a researcher and scientist. I truly was just coming at it from an academic perspective. I was just interested, and people completely took her down. And I think she lost her job. Like all these really awful things happened to her because she just was interested in why it was happening. It's like, I think a lot of people would rather come to a feeling of like peace with their body as opposed to have to go through all these surgeries. And if we could find an alternative for them, if adults wanted to do that, I'm almost say like if you're a consenting adult and you want to, I get like top surgery or something, fine, that's your choice. But they should have, I don't even know if I completely believe that either, but doctors should do no harm. But why not at least give them the choice to, say, here's another option, here's another path. You maybe can be okay in your body and you can feel differently about it. So it disgusts me what's happening, and then it makes me feel like, yeah, there's definitely an agenda here. There's it's not to help people, because this is really, really harming people.
Well, here's the thing, though. You kind of put your toe over the edge of something very important here, and that is, well, if you're a consenting adult and you want to take these off, go ahead. Really? Then you kind of felt like that still feels wrong, like even that. So if let's just say somebody wanted to take their leg off, we should just do that. They don't want legs anymore. They want to take their head off. This is very tough to say, because normally in this conversation, you would say, well, what if somebody wants to kill themselves? You wouldn't let that happen. But we have maids. So that's no longer even an argument that could be made, because we will let people kill themselves, state sponsored and paid for now. So what I'm trying to get at is we used to have limits that we would impose for the safety of people, even if they didn't understand it was for their own safety, including like with children. They don't fully understand their safety yet. But that happened with adults. For example, you'll get a ticket for no seatbelt. That's for your safety. We're doing that because one day if you crash, it will help you. So there's an example where society would kind of force onto somebody a behavior for their own safety. Cigarette smoking, for example, we don't stop you, but we certainly make it expensive, and then we put it in front of you and we try and make it persuadable. So we're taking steps to kind of interfere with your own safety. Alcohol is another one. We try and keep that away from young people because of the way it affects people while they're developing. But yet we still have those in place, but you can choose to go ahead and get chemicals and get chemical castration. You can get sterilization. You can have body parts removed before you can drive. To change your name in this country is paperwork. You got to go through a process. But to change your gender, you can just decide. And regardless if your parents agree or not, especially in Quebec, and this is moving across the country, the state will step in and say, okay, your parents don't agree. We think you're smart enough. We're going to label you mature minor. And now with that new label, you get to make all your decisions. Do you want surgery? Do you want end-of-life care? Let us know what you want. I also want to turn back to one statement you made about being a parent having to decide, you're being told your kid will kill themselves. I want people to fully understand that narrative, they will kill themselves, is created, constructed, and self-fulfilling. Because they keep saying that, a child who's going through whatever, which we normally call puberty, is now confusion. They're being told either you're going to be accepted, people are going to love you and treat you super great, or you'll kill yourself. Your parents are going to tell you that they love you anyways, or you kill yourself. You're going to get this surgery, or you'll kill yourself. They're being told what option B is the entire time. Hence, they take it. So the actual rate, 41%, that's artificially enhanced by the self-fulfilling purpose of the message that keeps getting put into their heads. If you're told you have path A or B, and that's it, and it's kind of ironic that this is a binary choice in this particular group, but you're being told you're going to change or you're going to die. It's no surprise that the die is actually happening.
Yeah.
And then also want to say something to parents, because I am one, and I know how tough it would be that if I'm being told, you need to do something to your kid or they'll kill themselves. Do you remember being young, didn't get your way, and then you held your breath? Do you remember that? Lots of kids kind of did that. They said, oh, okay, I'm just going to hold my breath, turn blue, and then you'll give me the ice cream. That's an early form of threat by death to get my way. This is no different than what's going on here. We're getting people saying, hey, look, call me this or I'll kill myself. Do this for me or I'll kill myself. Provide these policies that give me these rights above and beyond my neighbors or I'll kill myself. And what we have now is a whole bunch of kids running around in adult clothing, trying to turn themselves blue, and an entire society scared that if we don't do something, they will drop and die. And because we're such a compassionate society, we don't want that. So we're willing to give up our own comfort and say, okay, this makes me uncomfortable, but I'd rather you didn't die. So given those two options, we're going to go ahead and provide surgeries in universities or in hospitals for adults and children. What I'm trying to get at here is I think the slippery slope, the Pandora's box, was to say to anybody, we believe that you believe that, therefore let us give you surgery to help you. That's a form of enabling. And that type of enabling, I think,
Yeah.
then led to, okay, well, it's not just for these people with extreme conditions, it's these people that have the feeling. Now it's for these people who aren't quite sure. Now it's for children who just said it once and their parents believe that, and now they're pushing it down. It's for everybody now. And I think that's why we should push it, that it should be for nobody. I think transition surgery as an entire medical procedure should be illegal. It's non-necessary. It's not needed for the physical, mental health of the person.
Yeah, I
It
agree.
certainly might be addressing the mental health of the person, and we can talk about that in a sec. But when it comes to the physical health of the person, the doctor's oath should be kicking in. The Socratic oath,
Yeah.
yeah, that should be kicking in fully. Do no harm. But we are
And
now
then
scared to do that.
yeah, there's no
And,
reason to be doing that.
but it's under the threat of I'll kill myself if you don't do it. That's the threat even the surgeons are getting. So this is why
Even
the
the
system
surgeons
said,
are
okay.
saying that. Like, even the doctors are saying your, like, suicide rates, they will go up if, or like the data shows that suicide rates are such that people, if you don't affirm a person's gender and if they don't get this sort of care, suicide rates go up. But if you actually look at it, in actuality, like, transgenderism sure existed for some time, like a long time, but we're only in recent years actually affirming people's gender and allowing people to live as their true and authentic selves. But suicide rates have gone up since we've started doing that. People for however long, like all of history, have not really been affirmed, or people have always, thought that was absolutely crazy. And people who thought that they were a different gender had mental health problems. It's only in recent years where we started saying, actually, you are that gender. And the suicide rate has gone up. And there's lots of people who've transitioned and said, well, I should be happy now. Like, I'm supposed to be this gender. Everyone's telling me I'm this gender. Why am I not happy? It's because they have mental health problems that are not being addressed. And I don't know if going to a therapist is 100% the solution for everyone. That's going to help every single person. I know it has helped people, and people have found, that they're content with the body they're in, but I don't know why this is happening. We need to look into why it's happening and why people feel this way, and how that comes on. But people now identifying as all these things, or like being gender confused, is going up. And I think it's because it's almost becoming like this mainstream cool thing to be. Like, it's not even cool to be heterosexual or like cis. They're
That's right.
adding all these labels, and essentially I feel like people want to be a part of some sort of community. A lot of people are feeling very isolated and lonely, as I was saying, like anxious, struggling with their mental health, and they want to be a part of something. They want to feel connected to people, and this is like the cool thing to be a part of. The number
Right.
of friends, former friends I had where they're now like identifying as all these different things, is like really shocking to me. Whereas if I talked to them about this like 10 years ago or 8 years ago, they would have been like, that's crazy. What? You can identify as a they? That doesn't make any sense. It's not even grammatically correct. But now they're almost like, antagonistic if you don't capitulate. So it's getting insane. And you know what? Like, the way that I view it is there's all these just whiny babies and they need to be told no. And by affirming or like, capitulating, it's not helping them. Like, I think a lot of these people have not gone through real adversity and they're
Mhm.
trying to find adversity for themselves because humans need that. You do need that and purpose and all this stuff. And I feel like they're so sort of like self-absorbed, like a lot of these people. I'm not saying everyone, like there are people struggling with mental health issues, but you need to like stop focusing so much on your own problems and everything that's happening in your life, and analyzing every little thing, like who am I, what gender am I, all these things. Just like go out and live and focus on other people and get more happening in your day. Other people were not struggling with these issues to the extent that people are today. So, and it's just, I don't know. I could go on and on, but
Hey,
this
well,
stuff
that's what you're here
frustrates
for.
me so much. But yeah, anyways, I'll throw it back to you.
No, no, no. You're exactly right, and this is the frustration that we expect to hear in these situations with the youth. You are the youth. You are expressing exactly what a lot of people aren't saying. Even the fact that you're frustrated and trying to find the words and trying to make sense of it is exactly what they're trying to do. And look, when I was going through school, and it was a while ago, but the big clique thing to be accepted, even though you don't necessarily want to do it, but you did it to be part of a group, was smoking. So smoking was something in our schools where it was only a smaller group, like 20% or so. But and I'm not sure if you ever went into smoking because I did for a little while there. You actually have to force yourself through it. That first one is horrible. Tastes horrible. It sucks. It's gross. You stink. You get dizzy. The first like several of them, there's nothing but your body telling you, I don't want
No,
this. Right? I don't
yeah.
want this. But you have to pursue it in order to turn it into a habit. You have to keep doing something that you didn't enjoy in order to get to the point where the other people who said, well, cigarettes are great because first thing in the morning I have one. Well, that's the addiction now, and that's the reliance upon it. And what you're doing is you're fulfilling those desires to have it. So you're having that return, that reward there. But what people don't understand, and they should, is to get to that point, you have to go through a whole bunch of things of your body saying, I don't want this, I don't want this, I don't want this. And then your body had to eventually switch and say, I now want this, I need this, I have to have it. And then you're fulfilling that and making sure that your body gets it. This
Mhm.
is no different. Like we're being trained to go through something that we don't want to do. So some transgenderism, maybe they are confused. Okay. Maybe they're not sure. But then they get put into this community and says, well, you are a boy when you're born a girl, or you are a girl when you're born a boy. And then they go through this whole uncomfortable, am I not sure? Is it? Then they force themselves through it sometimes. Okay. I can totally see during the confusion stage, much like picking up cigarettes, there's this point where your body's even forcing and fighting back, but you pursue, you keep going. And then you get addicted to this lifestyle. Now you go to your parents and say, I am this. I've been doing it for so long in secret in school. They allowed me to do it in school. They even gave me a safe space to go change. They won't tell you about it. They provided all of this to you, to me to do. So now I'm so comfortable in this new clothing. I'm going to come and fight and tell you about it. And then if the parents in Canada say, no, you are hetero, we have a bill in Canada that'll put you in jail for that. You're not allowed to convert your children towards heterosexuality in Canada. It's called conversion therapy, and that's illegal in Canada. So if there is a family that says, hey, let's bring you to the church, let's bring you to God, let's show you a heterosexual lifestyle, in our code, we made that illegal in Canada. We did not make conversion therapy to non-heterosexual illegal. We made conversion therapy to heterosexual illegal. So look, we've got the schools, we've got sometimes crazy parents who have their own virtue signaling going on, and we have our own government stopping people with the laws to intervene and assist children that are confused. What chance do these kids have? No surprise. There's a whole bunch confused, depressed, going on to chemicals, and then eventually ending up in maids. I am not surprised at all because we didn't have these issues. We had smoking. We didn't have surgery, chemicals, clothing, makeup, parading in front of your friends, being super proud of it for an entire month. Always have it around. We didn't have that. So I am not surprised that you're frustrated. I'm not surprised that you're having a hard time finding the words for this
Yeah.
because, oh my goodness, we had Save the Whales and we had smoking and don't do drugs because your brain will look like a frying pan egg.
That was
That was the extent of what we went through. You guys, you have to wear a mask, you have to be vaccinated, you have to question your gender, you have to accept other people that do that, and you have to be okay with the kitty litter in the corner because she said she's a cat.
yeah.
What is the way forward for you? Get out of school, homeschooling, try and educate yourself on yourself, kind of step aside post-secondary education and go straight into work and learn it there. What is a path forward when this is what we got now? We got your parents, we got your school, and we got your government all against you on this one.
Well, number one on a sort of an individual level is don't be afraid to speak up. Have some gumption, have some backbone and speak up and just say what you think as opposed to just going with what the crowd thinks.
Mhm.
There's way too much groupthink happening right now, and it's really scary. So don't be afraid to stand out. That's a big part of what my group is trying to do, and we're kind of taking the summer to like assess how we go forward because there still are mandates happening and we still are pushing back against that and working on that. But what sort of got us to come together was we saw all these issues from the beginning. And that's what really connected our group as well. We're totally aligned on all these different issues. And we see that as sort of how we got to where we are now. Like, how come everyone complied during the pandemic? How come students didn't push back? Whereas at the time it would have been cool to rebel against,
That's right.
the ban, right? And now it's like, no, it's cool to completely obey and everyone to think the same way. And if you think
Mhm.
differently or disagree, it's not okay to have conversations about it or even ask questions, like innocent questions. So that's sort of what my group is moving towards, and we're trying to figure out the strategy to do that because we want to have more conversations about all these different issues and look at the whole thing because it's not just COVID and mandates. It's so many different issues that are kind of compounded and creating where we are at today. And then also with the institutions, I do think there's a place for universities. I think we need to get it back to what they were. Like, let's restore them to what they were meant to be. Because I do think they're really important. And I do think it's good for people to go to school and get an education and be around different people.
Mhm.
I was homeschooled for 1 year and I love being homeschooled. I was homeschooled for grade 3. And I learned way more than I did when I was in public school. Just in that 1 year, I think I learned grade 3 and 4. So when I went back for grade 4, I knew everything for that year. So I do think, the public school system can be improved upon. Young people are absorbing everything. They're taking everything in. So you can actually throw a lot at them. They'll absorb that and remember it and learn. So we should push students harder and stop focusing on these like comfort zones and make them feel safe, have a safe space. No, like this is the time to make people feel uncomfortable so that they learn how to grapple with those situations so that they can adjust. And, kids are really malleable. Like you can push them and they, test their limits a bit. Don't go too far and everything. Like don't abuse them like they did during COVID. But they're capable of learning a lot more in those formative years. So do that. And I think that's kind of the goal of S.A.M going forward is like, let's take back our institutions. Let's make it okay for young people to think critically. I don't want to tell people what to think, but I want to present them with different ideas and sort of give them the tools to think critically and make them feel comfortable to speak out. Because I think when you have people in your corner, and you don't feel alone, you're going to be more comfortable and confident to speak your mind, because it's like, oh, well, there's people here with me, so we want to show young people there are other young people who think differently, and give them that alternative perspective.
Now, let's say your momentum keeps going and keeps growing, and you guys get to like a 90% or an 80% adoption within the student body for your program and your anti-mandate stance. Let's just put the hat on for the other side for a little bit. Let's say you're on the other side. You looked into studies because you're a student. You went and saw stuff, and you were reading the studies that were provided by these groups that made you believe you need to have the vax, and the people around you need to have the vax, and people have to wear masks. So let's say you went down that rabbit hole. What do we say to them? Where they actually believe, I want an education too, but I believe through my own research and critical thinking, maybe it's flawed or not. It's not really for us to judge. But for them to say, I went through my stuff and I think everybody should be vaxxed and everybody should be masked. So what do we say to that group when you're basically going to have the same argument on the other side? If your side becomes a bigger group, they're going to say, hey, well, I'm scared when I walk onto the campus. It makes me very afraid. Do you try to help them? Are you trying to educate them? Do you ignore them? Do you just accept them? What's kind of the path forward so that we do get to what you're saying, which is everybody has their own choice and everybody's fine with that? How do we get to that if your side is also saying, you guys shouldn't do that? And I'm not saying you would force that onto somebody. That's how they would feel from their side of the table. They'd be like, well, here's a large group that really grew big. S.A.M has got a lot of popularity. A lot of people are following them. But I went through the studies and I found my conclusion said this. And now they feel the way we did, just reversed. So is there a way for our side to push this forward, but still not do what they did, which is to ostracize, make them feel completely outside of the group and you can't come in? How do we tackle that? Is there certainly going to be, it's usually the 20%. There's usually 20% diehard who are not going to move on their position. What do we say to that 20%, and how do we handle that so they don't have the exact same mentality that we currently have that we're fighting against?
Well, number one, of course, don't treat people the way that the unvaccinated were treated. Like, I would never ostracize people who had a different viewpoint. I talk to people every day who completely disagree with me. I spend time with people who completely disagree with my views. But I think the way forward and the point of my organization, I've done a lot of actually change my mind events. So we've gone to parks, and we're not forcing people to talk to us, but we set up a stand. It has our banner, Students Against Mandates, Change Our Minds. And we encourage and invite people to come have a conversation. And the thing is, they've done their research, we've done our research. And if we can enter into a civilized conversation and debate, maybe we can make some progress. Maybe we can teach them something that they don't know, and maybe they can even teach us something that we haven't heard about or know. And I'm always open to changing my mind. I've learned a lot on this stuff, and I've looked into a lot of it at this point. So I feel like my viewpoints are pretty solidified, but they're always up to changing when new information is presented. So what I notice though with the other side, and this is not everyone, there are some people who've done a lot of research and they've come to their conclusions, but the majority of them haven't done a lot of research. They've listened to what my one friend left from before the pandemic. He actually doesn't agree with me. So we actually have a lot of debates, and he says, I just trust my government. You don't trust them. Like, oh, cool, you have time to do all this research. I don't have time. And I trust my institutions. He's like, I trust Fauci. I trust Trudeau. And I was like, well, okay, cool. But look into it. Like, you need to investigate. He's like, but I trust them. I completely trust them. I'm like, well, maybe they mean it. What if they're wrong? Like, what if they've made a mistake? And I pointed out situations. So I'm like, at one point they said that there could be no transmission after you get the vaccine. They were wrong about that. You know that that's not true. So is it possible that they're wrong about other things too? So you have a responsibility to look into it. And he just disagrees with me on that point. I don't really understand that. But the point is, I will never not have a conversation with him about it. when he brings it up. I typically don't bring it up. He brings it up. He starts a debate, and we always have a civilized, calm, and respectful debate. And then when it starts to, sometimes we kind of get like maybe a little bit more heated, not that we have like raised voices or anything, but maybe I sound a bit more stern and he sounds a bit more stern, and we're kind of going back and forth, and then we go, hey, let's change the topic because like we're not making any headway here. Let's do this again another time. And then we'll just joke about something else or like watch a movie or something, right? So that stuff can be really, really frustrating, but you just need to keep having those conversations. And I've noticed on certain points he's starting to go, actually, I saw this one paper on ivermectin and I was really surprised. And I'm like, well, let's talk about that later. I'd be totally happy to have that conversation. So I think the whole thing is we need to just talk to people, but don't shove things down their throats. Don't force them to have the same viewpoint, and listen to them when they're talking, like have that same respect and courtesy. And I think that's the only real way we move forward. At the end of the day, I truly believe like all the information that I've seen and then the things that I've seen in real life, we're on the right track and we have the right intentions. So stick to that side. But then it doesn't mean we treat the people who treated us badly. We don't do that back to them, because then that makes us no better than them, right? So I see people wearing masks all the time, and I internally scoff, and I feel like, oh, like have you not picked up any like anything? Have you not read anything? How are you wearing a mask right now? But I look at them too, and I'm like, you know what? They're really scared, and they've been totally indoctrinated by their government, and I feel badly for them. And if I end up chatting with them, I'm very nice and I smile and I talk to them, and I try to put that aside and just treat them like a human being, because they are human beings, and I view them as people who've been abused too. So
I think you
that's
nailed it there.
yes.
Yeah. I think what you nailed there is the abuse part. And when you get abused by your government, you can fall into that, I believe everything they say part. I think what you're doing there is great. Keep talking and maybe move the argument from the science and the studies, because I'm pretty sure I read a study that said studies are flawed. So, let's try and move the argument away from there into where it's coming from. So the source is coming from the government. Keep having the political conversations. Keep talking about things in the government. Eventually, there's going to be an item where he gets burned by his own government, where he said, "Oh, I thought they had my back there, but they didn't." At some point, he's going to be directly touched by the government lying to him, and he'll see it. At that point, when the seed of doubt of your government is in there, then you can absolutely start to say, hey, Kay, now that you understand that they are fallible, they do make mistakes. We're not saying they're evil. We're not saying reject everything they're saying. We're suggesting that maybe for everything they give you, at least open it up and take a look, because
That's
they
right.
can be imperfect. Right. Because this
That's
is made up of our neighbors, and our neighbors are imperfect. So, look, I'm not saying reject it all, because I think that's a too extreme position to take. I'm also
yeah.
not saying accept it all, because that's too extreme of a position to take. I'm saying take a look. You wouldn't blindly eat your fast food if you have allergies. So let's say you don't like onions. You can't have onions. You wouldn't blindly just throw it in because I told them no onion. So let me just accept the fact that they did it right. No, they will make mistakes. You will get extra onion because somebody misread the order. So you would check. You would do one little check. So I'm
Yeah.
suggesting maybe you can say to your friend, look, I get where you're coming from, but the only thing that we're doing different here is I trust but verify. And you just
Yeah.
trust. And I would highly suggest you maybe do that and verify step, because you will learn that this is an imperfect system. It's an imperfect government. And it's really up to us to make individual choices based on what we learn. So keep it up. And I'm glad that you're not pushing this friend away. I've lost friends. Okay. I'm glad you're not pushing this away. I actually had a friend told me, he goes, call me up when you're done this conservatism thing. I don't even know what that means. um, I
I
have my
know.
beliefs. It's not a conservatism thing. But
Yeah.
in either case, keep it up. Keep it up. I'm so proud of you. The fact that you're still doing it a year later is an indicator that you guys are definitely onto something. And this group has a good group of people together. Because
Yeah. It's
typically
almost 2 years.
student stuff will die within a year or so, or when they graduate. Usually these things go away. But you guys are going to keep going. I know that you're really tight for time, so I'm just going to let you go now. But I'll let you say to everybody, how can they find you? How can they get involved? Can they donate to you? What can they do to help you?
Yeah, so you guys can head to our website, www.studentsagainstmandates.ca. And yeah, we accept donations. We have a Rumble and YouTube. We're pretty censored on YouTube, so every interview is on Rumble, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and you can find the links on our website. We have an Instagram, which is also heavily censored, and then we have a Twitter, which we've more recently started. It's the newer platform that we have, but we're doing really well on there, so you should come check it out. And yeah, we release interviews once a week, and we're having a lot of fun, so check it out. Thank you so much, Jason.
No problem. And I'm heading to Manitoba next week. I'll be in the Portage area to go see the Maxime. Yeah, to go see the Maxime. I think it's Winkler, really, but it's to go see the Maxime election. You're not too far. I don't know if you can get away or something. Maybe we can do an interview there. Think about it.
Yeah. Or if you come into Winnipeg, let me know when you're there. If it's on a weekend, I could probably do it.
Won't be because we're coming from the west and we're not going that far east, and we're super tight for time. But maybe we'll talk. Maybe we can figure something out.
We'll talk. We'll chat. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Leigh, and thank you from everybody in the chat. Take care. Bye.
You too.
I have to count to 3 in my head before I hit the remove button next time, because that's like the third time I cut somebody off in the middle of a sentence as they say goodbye. But I'm learning, just like Leigh there. I'm in the education mode and I am learning. So what do you think about that, folks? She is not getting an education. She is having to fight against the administration. She got to fight against the government. They're breaking children at an early age. So what do you think of that conversation? We usually have a very deep one with her. So did you think that was the case here? Did you learn anything from a student? Are students teaching us? Let's go to John here. When our children's lives are in the balance, the time for rational debate and conversation is over. Good parents have ultimate providence of their young people. That is God's will. It's God's will and our own hearts, my friend. Once you become a parent, you absolutely change perspectives, because there's a natural thing that happens within inside of you, chemical or otherwise, I'm not sure. But it really makes you less selfish and have an incredible desire to take care of somebody else. That's what becoming a parent is. And some people do this with their cats, and their dogs and their plants. Some people do this with, other objects in their life. But it's just not quite the same. If you become a parent, it is incredible how selflessness just kicks in. You don't become selfish anymore. And this is something I've noticed with the other side. We're seeing all these people who are not parents who are telling parents what they should be doing with their children. I don't want to do that you first thing, but look, if you're not a parent and you're trying to tell parents how to act, I don't think you're qualified. I think you need to become qualified before you can enter that conversation. And these people never will be qualified. They're sterile. They're not interested in reproduction. They're not interested in, taking care of something else other than themselves. So this is where I find the line in the sand is at the parent level. And this is why we're seeing a whole bunch of parents leave the left, because they had a lot of ideology growing up that they believed in, but when they became a parent and they had children, and then they saw a threat move towards their children, this is where the line in the sand is. It's where my line in the sand is. If I thought that Canada would still chug along, we would have debates, we would be debating the budget, we would be arguing policy, and we would be trucking along, you wouldn't see me in front of you today, because I would be, behind the scenes doing what I need to do. But because it's clear to me that there's a threat on our children, and there's also a threat on our freedom, which is going to stop our ability to raise our children our way. It's a two-pronged threat. They're threatening the children and they're threatening my freedom. I didn't see any other option. I couldn't wait for the current MP to do much. If you look into him, he's there. He's there. That was all I could say about him, and I voted for him. He's there. We needed people kind of. I know you guys might be getting sick of hearing his name right now, but Maxime, we kind of needed people like that would say the unpopular things and mean it, and stand on it. I was impressed by that. And to keep it very clear to all of you, the Johns, the Ellens, the Prairies, everybody out there, I'm an independent candidate. I'm not a PPC candidate. But I'm also not a dishonest person. I won't go and say, hey, stay away from the PPC because it's going to help my chances. My wife knows this. I absolutely will make decisions that are not necessarily aligned with my personal desires. She knows this. I do this all the time because we try to make the right decisions. Speaking honestly about Maxime may not even help me. It may actually turn people against me because you're like, well, he's a party guy. He's from the CPC originally. Why are you talking about him? Well, because I'm looking at what he's saying. I'm using my own head. I'm removing the filters that the media has put in front of me. And I'm taking a closer look. And what can I say? He's saying the right things. He's really doing that. Does that make me wrong for paying attention and saying, yeah, Max, let's open up some of these debates? And yeah, Max, let's anchor in conservatism. And yeah, Max, let's call out and shame when other people aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing, especially if they're the leader of the opposition, not opposing. There's so much that I agree with. But yet I'll have people say, look, too bad you're a PPC supporter. Don't even know what that means. Okay. I like apples for my own reasons. I like apples. And if you're an orange person, do you think there's something wrong with me for enjoying apples? Look, PPC is not perfect. Max is not perfect. The platform's not perfect. There's cracks, there's little holes. However, if you step back, it's way prettier than the other ones. Way prettier than the other ones. There's debates that he wants to open up that I didn't even know we could have as a Canadian. When Roe versus Wade got overturned in the States, there was a lot of people in Canada going, is abortion legal here? Like, what's our take on that? What is our position on that? Because we're so quiet on it. We don't talk about it. We don't fight it. We don't do much about it at all. We're actually quite accepting of the fact that we have one of the most progressive abortion programs in the world. We do pre-life abortion, like pre-birth abortion. We do post, we do middle, end of life, middle of life. We do lots. Like, we are incredibly progressive on these subjects. Maids, we're incredibly progressive on that. And it wasn't until really Maxime saying, look, let's reopen that debate. And then we saw how much resistance he started to get. He's onto something. What can I say? I can tell you he's not perfect, but he certainly got my attention. Gender-based abortion, Tammy, we spoke about that with Max directly. Gender-based. He was actually careful to call it sex-based. I called it gender-based and genetic-based. He called it sex-based, which is closer to the science, right? Gender is the language version of sex. And there's still only two of those, by the way. I'm not heading into the direction that there's a flexible, fluid option there. It's still, there's only two. But it's the language. It's the adding sex to words. That's what gender is. And I'm cool with that. He's over there. She's over there. It's easy to describe and explain. But Max said sex. And yeah, this is headed towards, already is. What did he say? There was 100 late-term abortions in Canada. That's 2 a week. 2 a week. Murders. 2 a week. And we're not upset about that. Only Max and the few people in the know are. So look, Max ain't perfect. And I don't support him. Like, I'm not in the party. I'm not being asked to do things. I'm not being guided in any way, shape, or form. But I do support Canada. I do. And then why in the world should we just keep doing status quo? Where's that critical thinking, even on the voter level? So look, I'm going to Manitoba to cover. I've reached out to the CPC. I've even asked Andrew Lawton, behind the scenes. I did. I sent him a private message after all of the Twitter kerfuffle saying, hey, dude, I'm going to be in Manitoba for the election. True North covering it. Are you going to be there? And can I help in any way? Meaning maybe it can be a correspondent. Maybe I'm hanging around the PPC camp and someone else is at the CPC camp and we're both reporting what's going on. Reached out. This is independent journalism. I can tell you right now, there's no reply. But I'll be there. Okay, look, if CPC doesn't want me to cover them, doesn't want me to talk to their candidate, and all you see is Maxime on my stream, that's not by choice. It's not by choice. That's the machine actually fighting against an independent journalist who wants to speak to all sides, but I'm not getting access. I don't carry the right cards. I'm not part of the right groups. I don't shake the right hands. I don't kiss the right butts. Andrew, you're a smart guy. Do you have to? Do you have to kowtow, Andrew? And please tell me I'm wrong. Please tell me I'm dead wrong. Please tell me that your position was unbiased. I'm not seeing it right now, buddy. I would believe that if you were showing all sides. Here's where Maxime went, 2008. And here's where Pierre went. You didn't even tell us about that. Pierre was on the website. Pierre had meetings. Pierre was part of a small group that got put together, got put on the website. Remember, April 1st, 5 CPC members were put on the website, including Pierre. And then February 23rd, 24th, 2023, of those 5, Pierre came off. A week later, Andrew Scheer, which is not part of that group, Andrew Scheer was actually on the website prior to Pierre being put on the website. Andrew's been on there a lot longer. But a week after Pierre got taken off the website, Andrew was taken off the website. Somebody pointed that out to me on Twitter. They said, hey, look, he's not on the website anymore. Him and Andrew were taken off. I said, yeah. What phone number does he have to do that? How did he get himself taken off? But Justin Trudeau can't? Like, I'm sure if they're not part of this group, like if Justin and Christia and Jagmeet, if they're not part of this group, it would be in their desire to also have themselves removed from the website, because we get to point to that and say, dude, you're on a globalist website. But yet Justin either A, doesn't want to come off, or B, doesn't have the special phone number that Pierre has. Look, guys, the fact that Pierre came down is worse. The fact that Andrew came down a week later after Pierre picked his cabinet and Andrew was on it is worse. The fact that the other 4 candidates or CPC members who are still on the website and are not on his cabinet are still on the website, that's worse. That's worse than we being able to point to the WEF that says, hey, they just simply put up leaders, potential leaders, young leaders, global leaders. They just randomly put people up because that's the business they're in, identifying leaders. Well, if that's the case, then why can he come down? Why can he call them up and say, hey, look, I'm about to do a leadership here, and it's not going to be good that I'm on there. And it's not good that Andrew, who's in my cabinet, is on there. Let's get that off. But at the same time, he can't get the other 4 people off from his own party. So he didn't make a phone call and said, hey, remove all conservatives. The conversation went, please remove me. But Andrew too? We have to move Andrew too? Yeah, we got to win this one. We can't have Canadians being wise of this globalist thing. Okay, but nobody else. I'm going to leave the rest there, but I'll remove you. Like, that's kind of how this went. And then Andrew and others aren't even looking at that going, hold on a second. Why can he remove himself, but Justin can't? Does this mean Justin wants to be on it? Like, what is really going on here? Is this a directory of global leaders who have no say on whether or not they're on the website? And if they call and complain, they will remove them? Well, if that is the case, Andrew, Pierre, why did you leave the rest on? Why did you clean ship and get all conservatives off that website? Well, we know why. It's because there was a progressive grouping and they were looking for people, and you were part of a group of 5. April 1st went up, April Fool's Day, but you went up and you're still there. Okay. And then they took you off right before you got the leadership. And they took off the only cabinet member that was on there, also took that one off. Why aren't you sharing that phone number with the other 4 members? Why are you not saying take them all off? Forget about Justin. Leave him up there. It looks bad. Like, you don't have to help him come off, but you didn't help your party members to come off as the leader at the time. So look, I'm also not saying that it means Pierre is an offspring of anything, okay? Just like Andrew rightfully points out, being there, well, actually, he didn't point that out. I pointed it out to him. Being there doesn't mean much. Like Andrew kind of forgot that he was too there. He's the one that took the picture of these multilateral rooms that he sent me. Like he was physically there. So I'm going to assume, at least Andrew's position, being there doesn't mean you're a member. Okay. So that's true about Pierre. Like, I'm not saying he's a card carrying member of the WEF. I am saying that Pierre's side, Conservative Party, is smearing Mac's side, PPC, with the fact that Max was just there in 2008. But yet Pierre was on the website, had himself removed, had all of those interactions with the WEF, and we're not allowed to mention that. We're not allowed to talk about that. That gets dismissed. But the candidate from the Conservative Party can go ahead and say, hey, I want to attend the WEF. And then you have people like Andrew Lawton supporting any push that against Max. Andrew, dude, like, who paid for your flight? How did you get into the building to take a picture of that room? Who gave you the access? Because I know if I showed up there, they wouldn't let me in. I'd have to be allowed in. Independent journalist, right, Andrew? You got in. Explain to us how that means nothing. Because then that is also the same thing that Max could say. Andrew, you're not on their website. I looked. They don't talk about you. They don't even know you. They're not anywhere in their stuff. So that's good news. But neither is Max. Max is in none of their stuff. So, Andrew, you should actually be saying to the world, hey, look, being at the event at the same time that the main show is going on doesn't mean you're a member. And Andrew, you can do that from a firsthand experience. You can be your own witness and testify to that. You'd be a good source. I think you would trust yourself. You would understand that absolutely. You can say that. Being in Davos, being in the grounds doesn't mean you're a member. And it also doesn't mean you attended, because what you did there, Andrew, and Max was right. He called you out on that. You're playing with words. You're using attended in two different ways. You can attend the main show. You can attend a meeting within these rooms. You're the one using the word attend to confuse people to mean he was there. He's a card carrying member. He knows everything about the WEF. The WEF understand who he is, and they want to work with him. That's what you're doing, Andrew. You're the one conflating the word attend to mean two different things, but the same thing at the same time. And then you are countering and arguing a gentleman who's saying, no, look, let's split that up. There's attending, which means I went to the messaging, I participated in a speech, I watched a speech, or I did something. And Andrew, you said this in your video. You did recognize that that's a form of attending. And then he can also say, but I registered for access for a private secure room to meet with other ministers of foreign affairs because as my official capacity for the government, I was there. And none of that was hidden. You know, government officials, their entire itinerary is open. Like Andrew, you brought it up. You actually said, I looked at your itinerary and there was only two things I had a problem with: meeting an old party member. And I'm not even sure what the other one was, but Max addressed them both. And those were just personal items that he was going to. So, Andrew, I am so confused, my friend, why it does appear, it's not an allegation because I don't have the evidence to support an allegation, but it does appear that you are toting a party line as an independent journalist and you are attacking an opponent of that party unfairly. You're not correctly and you're not openly being unbiased about it. Andrew, I watched very carefully and I listened very, very carefully to your words. And one of the words that you said to Max was, or one of the sentences you said to Max was, I don't think it's good to have this discussion on Twitter because it's better to meet in person and talk about it. I agree. I sent you the invite to do exactly that, Andrew. So let's do that. And look, I'm not here to support anybody. I am anti-globalist in general. Okay. So if Max was on the website, I would be saying that. If there was an article saying Maxime, he is the future of the People's Party, and we believe that the populist government will be able to control the people much better, so we support this gentleman. If we heard something like that, I'd be like, oh, independent all the way. But that's not the case. That's just simply not the case. And I also find it very odd that CPC themselves, supporters and party, are attacking Max on this issue when it was who? Harper who sent him. It was that party who actually opened the door and sent him there. Like, are you guys not seeing that? Your one foot is already shot with the fact that Max is out there talking about some of the stuff that's going on in your party that shouldn't be going on. So now you take the other foot and you shoot it too by saying, hey, look, hate that guy because he did stuff that we told him to do. Come on. That's how irrational this conversation is, and that's how irrational this argument is. Because you're arguing that way. And you're starting to sound like the left when you argue that way, folks. You're conservative. You want facts. You're supposed to care about the facts. So let's try and get back to it. And on that front, Andrew, happy to chat with you anytime. No ill will. I'm just concerned that you're now demonstrating to me, little old me, a different form of independent journalism that I'm not comfortable with because it doesn't feel independent anymore. It doesn't feel independent at all. Gov Corrupt. Don't know about Max, but if it was me, I would jump to the opportunity to go. Being in sales all my life, I like to study the enemy and use its own tactics against them. Dude, Andrew was there. So isn't that exactly what Andrew's saying is what you're saying here too? I'm there to just find out. I'm not there to be programmed. I'm not there to be invited. I'm not there to contribute. I'm there to find out. So wasn't that his pass? Isn't that what he said he did? Andrew had Max on last night to hash it out. Yeah, Clay, did you watch it though? Did you watch it? It wasn't settled. I watched it. It wasn't settled. It wasn't settled at all. Max definitely stood up for himself. Max said, hey, look, you're mixing words. You're splitting with words. Max even said, I'm disappointed in you, Andrew. And if you watch, Andrew said, hey, I always felt that I always liked you. And this is when you know the conversation's going weird, when somebody gets to the personal side of things and they say, hey, I always liked you. As if that implies you can't disagree with me because I've always liked you. At that point in the conversation, Clay, it changed. And Andrew definitely got a little defensive, but he didn't clarify his version of attending is being construed with what he's reporting as Max's version of attending. Simply put, Max was trying to say attending means you went to the events, you were there, maybe invited as a guest, wanted to go on your own, but you went there for the main events. Registering to talk in private rooms is what Max is trying to say he did. So when he says, I didn't attend the events, that's still true. He didn't attend the events. He was in attendance in a room in a private meeting, but those aren't the events. Even Andrew said that in his video. He acknowledged and he admitted, sure enough, you didn't go to those events, the speeches, the presentations. You didn't participate or go as a volunteer, as a spectator at all. He didn't do that. And Andrew said that. He's like, yeah, I understand you didn't do that. But you sat in a chair in a room where the security was being provided by the WEF. So therefore, you can't say you didn't attend the WEF. So that's where I disconnect with Andrew, Clay, and only there. Because, yeah, it's coming down to semantics, but Andrew's the one using the semantics to say that Max is lying. Okay? Like, you got to remember the root of this is Max is standing up and saying, don't lie, I didn't attend the WEF. And it's Andrew saying, actually, I've got the receipts. You did attend the WEF, therefore you're lying. And then Max is saying, well, no, I didn't go. I didn't attend. I registered and went to a meeting. And yes, it might be semantics, but I think it is important because Andrew's the one pushing the narrative that says he attended. And if you are running for office, it's your word, right? It's your word. So you come out and say, I didn't attend the WEF. And then somebody says, here are the receipts you did attend. You have the right to defend and clarify. So it might be semantics, but I think it's correct to actually debate them. Gav says, also, what I don't understand, conservative liberals blame Harper for everything. Move on. It happened 10 years ago. Also, conservatives, hey, look, guys, here's what Max was doing 10 years ago. guys, are we not allowed to change? Are we not allowed to learn? Are we not allowed to grow? Are we not allowed to decide a new path for ourselves? Absolutely. Thank you, Perry. Yep. And if you look at my Twitter, I've also linked to it. And again, I'm not mad. I'm confused with Andrew. Like, I'm not mad at him. I think he was a gentleman. He gave me his time. We spoke very well, and I learned from him. I'm just confused because he showed the receipts for Max attending, but he didn't show the receipts for Pierre. And the message coming from the Conservative Party candidate is, hey, look, I'm not WEF connected, but if your leader is, you're just as good as connected, dude. So, and by the way, it was not Max who threw the first shot on this one. It's not Max that put up a graphic that says you're WEF. It was the candidate that says, I won't be WEF, implying Max is. He's a candidate. He has to correct the record. So I support that. I support that. And again, if I did my research and Max was everywhere, he had the same type of page. Maybe he didn't have a full bio, kind of like Pierre. Pierre didn't have a bio, but he did have a page. I'd be saying the same thing. Look, what does that mean? What does it mean that you were there? And look, what does it mean that you were able to take yourself off, Max? Like, I'd be saying the same thing. But there's simply no evidence that he was a member, that he attended the events. There's no evidence of that. The only evidence is he was in Davos and he used a boardroom or meeting room. That's it. There's, like, Andrew's not even accusing him of meeting with Klaus. Like, there's no accusation he met with WEF. It's completely accepted because it was documented. Again, official government business is all documented. That he met with legitimate ministers of finance or no, ministers of foreign affairs when they're working on the Afghanistan war at the time. This is 2008. So I have no problem with that. Where do you want our minister of foreign affairs to go meet with people? Cafes or secure rooms? Where do you want those to happen? And if everybody's flying to Davos to meet for whatever event, like I'm going to Manitoba to cover the election, but you've heard me speak with other people. We're going to meet and have a coffee, have a hamburger. Let's connect in Winnipeg, et cetera, et cetera. Well, that's because of the convenience of proximity. We're close together near an event. So if Leigh decides to drive from Winnipeg to come meet me for a coffee, we have a chat and we do a video, can I now say she attended the election? This is the same thing, Andrew. Just because you went to a conference center at the airport doesn't mean you were on a plane that day. No. So this is where I'm kind of pushing back on Andrew. Love you, man. You're doing your thing. I'm impressed with a lot of stuff you do. But this one, this isn't your best work. And I'm just curious why it's not your best work. Is it just because your day was short and this is what you did and you grabbed a subject and you said, okay, hey, look, I have some receipts here. I can throw it into this conversation. You push the send button and said, go. Look, I would understand that. We don't have countless hours in a day. But you should at least then say, hey, look, Pierre was also there. Send them both out. Send them both out. Who was there in 2008? Harper must have been. That must have been other conservatives. Why don't you harp on that? Harp on Harper. You're not. You're absolutely trying to make it look like that the credibility of Max can't be trusted for two reasons. One, he was at WEF, and two, he's lying about it. That's 100% what you're doing here. It's what the candidate's doing. It's what Pierre is doing. And it's what you're doing. And that's kind of where I disconnect from you, my friend, because it looks like you are pulling the party platform. You're pulling the party narrative. And we don't like it on the other side. CBC does nothing but that. Why are you? I don't want to see that, Andrew. Like, I want to be wrong on this. But I did go through your entire thread, word for word. I did click on your links, and I did watch your video. I also did my own research. I pulled up way back. I took a look myself. I did my own Google searches. I did my own research. You're ignoring my research, Andrew. I think that adds context. I don't know, man. And Andrew, one last thing I'm going to throw out there. Don't forget the Trump effect, my friend. What I mean by that is Max is going to be a lot like that when he gets in there. Not that he's like a Trump, and that the media is going to go crazy. There's going to be story after story. Andrew, you're going to be writing stories for 2 years about what Max is doing in there. for, against, or otherwise. It's going to be nothing but a bunch of source of good media that we can put out there. Max did this. Max was told that. Max tried to do this and failed. Max tried to do this and succeeded. Max tried to do this and was stonewalled. Max went and found out this. Max learned that that wasn't what he thought it was. Max came back and explained this to us. You're going to have 2 years of that. Come on. Like, as a journalist, you should be going, this is what Canadians want. This is what Canadians need to hear. And this is what we need to do. This is our job. So, Andrew, look, love you, buddy. But on this one, I want to sit down and talk to you. I want to compare notes. I want to learn from you. I want to understand. I want to clarify. I'm not here to support Max. I'm not here to take down Pierre. Do keep in mind that I've checked my notes and I've checked my math. Pierre's going to be my prime minister. And if I am doing my job well and I do go in there as an independent candidate or otherwise, I'm going to have to work with him. It's not my desire to make this guy out to be some sort of evil doer. That's not. My desire is to work hard for Canada. He's going to become a leader. He's going to have a very big role in it. Whether I know his agendas or not, I'm going to counter the things I'm not supportive of. And, you know, throwing around WEF mud when you're the one that should be throwing the mud at, I don't like that. That's too lefty behavior for me. But I would like to see out of Pierre. Yes, I was there. Yes, I was on the website. I had my team remove it. See, these are the sound bites we have already. And I've removed the other members too. I want to see the other 4 come off. I want to see no Conservative Party member on that website. Currently, you can't remove the history. We already have the history. Wayback Machine doesn't forget. But currently, like, get them off. Come out stronger on it. Say, look, I am so anti this that I got all members off, not just the ones in my cabinet, including myself. Do that. Come out and say, hey, look, we are anti 30% reduction in nitrogen. We are not for SDG. We are not for ESG. Like, come out. If you're going to use it to attack a political opponent, you should be standing up and attacking it directly as well. Or else the mud that you're throwing around carries a lot less weight because you really don't believe it. Okay? If you are still not countering them, you can't throw that mud on someone else and say, hey, I'm painting you with this brush. You're a wrongdoer. Because frankly, Pierre, you have the paint and the brush in your hand because you're also affiliated. So let's just clean that up. Clean it up. Because right now, Pierre, what I haven't found is much more than just you on their website. Okay. What I haven't found is concrete evidence that you actually sat down with Claus. There's no picture. He's not bragging about it. He's definitely bragging about the Liberal Party and their cabinet. 50% of the cabinet. Like, he definitely says that stuff. So look, you could skate away from this a lot cleaner than trying to throw mud at someone else who did less with the organization than you did. That's all I'm suggesting, because none of this looks good. The conservative infighting doesn't look good. The independent journalist not being very independent doesn't look good. The fact that you're on the website and you're kind of dismissive and you don't really want to address it doesn't look good. The fact that 4 members are still on there and others. Okay, I just want to be clear. I keep saying 4, but that was the group that he was in when they got added. So there was 5 that got added on that day. 4 of them are still up. And there's other conservative members that are on there too. Clean it up. That's kind of all I'm asking for. I don't want a PM who has some unaddressed skeletons in their closet about the WEF. I don't want to fear that, there's a relationship you don't want to see here. That's kind of where I'm at with that, Pierre. Sorry, let's put that chat back up. I didn't get a chance to see it. I wonder what would be different now if Max had gotten that extra 1% over Scheer back 10 years ago. Hey, Clay, maybe they knew. And that's why, because there's a lot of questionable things around that election, wasn't there? And Andrew was on the website, and Andrew definitely had a good connection to the WEF. He was on the website before Pierre. They make that of what you will. But at the end of the day, I'd like to see nobody on it. I'd like to see them all come off. I'd like to see them take a stronger stance against it. And yeah, Pierre has said a few things, but did you guys watch his filibuster? Did you listen to it all? Did you? There was a lot in there. There was a lot in there. And I did a good 3 hours and kept it in the background because I really wanted that soapbox to also be used for issues like POEC. What was his take on the testimony, contradictory testimony, redacted documents? Can we get the documents? There's still requests for redacted documents being unfulfilled. There's still a push to hide information. I wanted to hear anything. I wanted to hear anything. You stay away from that one. WEF and globalism in general. He lightly touched it, but he didn't go into it. He didn't go into it at all. For example, what I'd like him to talk about is the water, the nitrogen. In general, the fact that WEF exists and is talked about being part of the cabinet. All of that. He didn't. He did a lot of, the normal stuff, healthcare. He talked about families. He talked about incomes. He talked about making things better. He talked about all of the problems are coming from the other side, all the typical stuff you expected. But he also had a lot of opportunity to talk about a lot of other subjects. He didn't talk. I think Mark Friesen would agree with me on this one. There's plenty to talk about when it comes to the globalists. Plenty. Max vocal about it. He's actually upset about it. That's all I'm saying there, Pierre. I know you're going to be the leader. That's pretty clear. And I'm not mad with that. I think you will do better things in the current government. I think you will definitely look to your base for some guidance and you will follow certain things. But I also don't think you are close enough to the anchor of conservatism. Talk to me about abortion, Pierre. Where do you stand? 100 late-term abortions? Have you ever said those words? I'd like to know. I chat with the pro-life. We talk. They reached out when I became a candidate. Pierre, you can do more. You can. Gerald, my guy, you can do more. Gender, where are you guys on this one? Don't you have children? Are they just past the age of confusion, so you're not so worried anymore? Dude, I want there to be a strong conservative-based government in this country. We've gone liberal for too long. We've gone progressive for too long. We're kind of not so much laughed at, but we're definitely being watched by the rest of the world for our progressive left policies. I'm not proud of that. I'm not proud of 100 late-term abortions. And those are the late-term ones. What about the midterm and the preterm and the genetic-based ones and the sex-based ones? How many sex-based abortions are happening? Oh, we're not talking about that one. And I know why. I know why. I already got touched by that. And what do I mean by that? Well, I started this. You guys have been around for a year or so. Some of you not, but I started this about a year ago. And if you ever try this, it's not easy. I started off with 0 followers. Okay. Twitter, Getter, Gab, all those things. I created a bunch of accounts, started with 0 followers. Very early, there was this follower who followed me on Getter and Twitter. I'm like, oh, cool. Oh, cool. Chat, support. Go. Independent. That's a great way to go. Go. And without telling her my position, I asked, because she was giving me some good advice about how to work on Twitter, how to find shadow banning, this kind of stuff, like how to, and I found some. I was actually shadow banned on some stuff. Thanks to her, I found out and fixed it. So I asked her, I'm like, look, how do I approach the abortion topic? Didn't tell her which side I was on, didn't say anything. I just asked, like, how do I approach the abortion topic? And she freaked out. Don't you dare bring that up again. Don't you ever talk about that again. That is something you don't talk about. So we cut ties. I'm like, well, that's just not how I work. Nobody can tell me what I can and can't talk about, not even a supporter. I'm sad that that's the case. If you have to go your way, you have my number type of attitude. But I was really taken aback that it can't be talked about. Again, I didn't even tell her my position. I could have been pro-choice. She didn't know. But yet just bringing it up as a topic was enough to get her to say, look, followed you for months. I like a lot of your stuff. You have write the messages, but this one I'm going to leave you on. And she did. We didn't chat for about 3-4 months. And then one day she liked something. And then liked another thing. And then put a comment on. So I reached out and said, hey, nice to see you again. Missed ya. And then she apologized. She said she was going through some things personally and got really upset and took it out on the wrong person. This is what she's admitted to. I'm like, that's great. Thank you very much. But is there a chance that maybe she doesn't like a decision that she had made previously, whether it was for herself or someone else or someone close or someone she loves, or it felt like that was a very close decision to her, and she felt like I was going to judge in the opposite way the decision making there. That made me a little sad because I'm not going to judge. It's not my job. It's God, and it's not my job. But I'm certainly going to take a look at, analyze, get my own opinion, have my feelings towards you. It's all going to matter. It's going to matter, and that's being human. Let me tell you about another one, and this relationship is still there, but it's very strained and it's very difficult to have full open conversations with. So I have a really good friend, over 20 years. It's well before my wife and I got together. And we're tech. Okay. So we're tech. He's tech. I'm tech. We're nerd. He's nerd. We're like super nerds. And when we get together, you get like ultra mega super nerds. If you're in it, it's amazing. If you're watching it, it's probably like watching aliens chatter. That's how close we were, and on everything, like everything. Recently, we're chatting again, and things got uncomfortable because I'm very proud of my son Jacob. I love him to death. He's awesome. Couldn't be more happy to have him in our lives. So I'm talking about that. But you could tell there was something not quite right. So I probed a bit. I'm like, hey, dude, like, what's up? So he told me a secret. And again, I'm going to share it with you without telling you who he is and stuff. I could also it could be a female. And I'm using he to throw you off. I'm not going to tell you who it is, and nor would you figure it out. It would be very, very impressive if you could figure out who this is. But he let me know that they decided not to have their Down syndrome child. They made that choice. They're living with that choice. And clearly it bothers him when he's reminded of that choice. And I get it. We were presented with that choice. And being the analytical, spiritual, all that stuff, we were considering all of that. Will we be able to see a child with Down syndrome walk around? Will that bother us? And yeah, of course it would. You always hear the stories of regret. Okay. And now I'm seeing it real time. Just a simple fact that we made a choice that we're happy with. And he doesn't disagree with our choice. That's not what I'm saying here. He absolutely supports us, and he thinks Jacob's lovely and beautiful. But he has his own problem now, because every single time he talks to me, I'm the one that has a child that's roughly the age of what his child would have been. And that decision has really changed part of our relationship. It's put this cloud over it, which is difficult. It is difficult. Now, yes, he's left-leaning. Lots of the stuff he's left on. He's got a lot of things that we disagree on, but we can talk and we can be open about it, and we've always been able to. But not this subject. This subject was too personal, and I think that's kind of what happened. Yes, we don't bring up abortion. Yes, we don't debate it. Yes, we don't talk about the moralities of it or the legalities of it or even the practicalities of it. Yes, we don't do any of that. And is that because there's a lot of people who are closely touched by it, and it's just really, really, really sore spot for them now? Ooh, maybe. But the good news is my friend is still my friend. He is not one of the ones where we completely cut ties. He is still my friend. He is strongly liberal support, but he's given me lots of assistance. He's one of my ins for the party. Like, he hangs out with MPs from the party, and when the rumors of the election coming up in winter were circulating, even the Conservative Party were putting out messages saying, let's do a winter election, it might be coming. No, he told me no, they've decided they're not going to do that yet. They're going to hold on to power. And even when the media was saying, it might be an election, he was right. So his information was good. So no, we're still good friends. We just have that above us. And then my other one, the one that kind of took off and she came back later, still cool. Still cool. So, maybe people can change. Maybe they just need a bit of time. Maybe they need to think about it. Maybe they have to live with their decisions. Maybe we have to be empathetic for that. I don't support the decision. I wouldn't encourage the decision, but I can empathize with the pain that that decision caused. So to my friend out there, we love you very much. And we do support you as a person. Really wish that you expanded your family. It's a wonderful, wonderful child. And to anybody out there that have been told, hey, your child may have a genetic issue, Down syndrome specifically, guys, this is not something to be run away from. You might have met someone with Down syndrome when you were younger and you thought, oh no, they got challenges with their mental abilities. But we're creatures of our environment, and for a long time, as soon as somebody popped out with those features, we didn't educate them, we didn't challenge them, we didn't help them produce them to be the best they could be. And if we did that with any child, born with any disability or not, if we did that to any child, they would also be mentally slowed down because they weren't given the patience and tolerance to actually be educated. And I'm saying that with conviction because we've educated our son just like we educated our older son. And he's stunning. He is doing great. All the speech therapy that he goes to, he's off the charts. He's off all the charts that they made for Down syndrome children. He's off them. Why? Because he's being treated exactly like all children should be treated. He's getting an education. We are being tolerant with him. We are being patient with him. And you know what? It's not really true. He picks up a lot more than we give him. He understands a lot more than we teach him. And he's teaching us. He's even very curious, very inquisitive. He is fully functional. He just can't say words correctly. Neither can I. You guys have been suffering through that. So look, we are for having children. We are for loving children. We are for accepting children. We're not for changing children. We're not for making decisions that are best for the parents, counter to the decision for the children. And we're certainly not for making decisions and responding to situations you find yourself into that include end of life in any facet. And that includes the decision to have abortion or the decision to care for a patient with mental illness or dementia, and then making the choice that they should get end-of-life care, which is what MAIDS is providing. So look, tough decisions have to be made, but I'm not for abortion. I'm not for MAIDS. I had someone attack me on Twitter saying you're a heartless creep because there's people that suffer that needs MAIDS. No, they don't. They need end-of-life care. They need palliative care. They need their family there. And why can I say that? Because I did that for my mom. She passed young. She had Crohn's. She had COPD. She had depression. She had a lot of things going on for her. But she didn't get MAIDS. No, we would have lost time with her. Did she suffer? Yeah, sometimes she did. Was she in pain? Yeah. Septic shock is what she died of at the end. It sucks. It all sucks. But we were there to love her till the end. She felt that love till the end. This is end of life. We call it end of life care. MAIDS isn't end of life care. That's end of life choice. That's not care. Choice and care are not the same thing. And yeah, I can stand up to the people that say terminally ill, super pain, all that. I can stand up to them because that isn't who we're giving this to. That's a small percentage. That isn't who we're giving this to. And we have palliative care. We do have medical advancements. We can make people comfortable. And I also say that too because my young brother, he was 17 when he got hit by the car. He never woke up again. His brain detached. And for 3 years, his biological father kept him alive on machines while his body completely deteriorated. So I understand completely why some people choose maids. It is hard. It is hard seeing your loved one deteriorate. It sucks. But it's not a system that I support. I support end of life care, life affirming care, and that's where I stand on that one. It may put me into the far right category in a lot of people's definition, but if that makes me far right, come say hi, and then we won't be so far apart. Because at the end of the day, I love your unborn child. I love your grandmother. I love your family member who's dealing with mental illness so much that I'll take your attacks if you don't like what I have to say. And to all the people that attack me online for abortion, your mother was pro-life. You wouldn't be here. So every single one of you are the result of the choice counter to your message. It's insane to see this argument happening still. It's sad. I've been affected by it because I do have a child with Down syndrome, and the system absolutely tried to persuade me into it. At no point did we get birth affirming counseling. There was not one single time where they said to us, hey, look, if you do it, we can support you here. We got these programs. We make these things easier. We help with speech. We help with walking. We help with physio, everything that they need. Not one time did that get presented to my wife and I. But what did get presented to my wife and I consistently was how hard it would be for him, us, and society. It was clear there were going to be challenges on all of those. We were definitely educated on all of the challenges. We were not educated in any way, shape, or form, or exposed in any way, shape, or form to the beauty of it. Thankfully for me, I did grow up in a home that had foster parents or foster children. I was exposed to children with disability at a young age, extreme disabilities too, like seizures. You have to deal with seizures. You have to get in there and get their teeth so they don't lock up, swallow their tongue, bite their tongue. No communication, grown people, but acting as children. Like I've been exposed to all of that. And Down syndrome, beautiful people, like the best. They don't hate. They don't do anything other than show appreciation and love. So, thank God I had that particular experience in my life because I wasn't afraid of having a child with Down syndrome. And if I went through that programming that Ontario was providing, and I didn't have that conviction that I wasn't afraid of children with Down syndrome, I can absolutely see how I would have come out with a different conclusion and decision. So I'm against that. So that would be genetic-based abortions. They did a test, found some genetics, gave you the answer and said, hey, look, you want to take that out? That's exactly what we should not be doing. And then ditto, absolutely, for any other reason, including sex. Like, are you really proud that there were Canadians choosing to end a female's life or a male's life? Are you really proud that we're in a country where we have that checkbox? Reason? Undesired gender or sex. China did that with their one child policy. Many parents got rid of the girl. Now you have a society where it's really overpopulated on the male side, not enough females. You got all other problems. We should not ever be doing that. Nobody should be playing God. And that includes playing God with your own body. God made you in his image, not for you to change. It really isn't. Let's go with these chats. There's a bunch of stars, and we got 5 minutes. Sorry for all that, guys. This is not normally how I do this, right? You normally know that I sit and we talk to a guest or we go through the chats. But the meeting with Maxime got me fired up about abortion and maids. There's some push online for it. There's a lot of support for it, and the pro-life people are very happy with Max's statement, and so am I. So what I'm going to do now, Padge, is I'm going to take over and go through the star chats. Okay. John, the policies of child grooming in schools is straight out of the CP book. Yeah. When a child is intercepted by the government for the age of 10. They're less receptive to parental nurturing. That's because that's the parental nurturing stage. And just like a duck, if you take it away from its parent and touch it, it now believes you're the parent and will do whatever you want. It has no idea. I'm not saying we're ducks, but I'm saying we're imprintable. We are imprintable, especially at a young age. We're very imprintable. And indoctrination is exactly that. Thank you very much for that comment, John. You're not wrong. Hey, Gov. I think not getting an education is actually getting an education. Yeah, you saw that with S.A.M. And it happened to me too. Like, I don't have, okay, so I did get post-secondary when I was in my 30s. I went to law school, and then I also went to McGill University in Montreal for project management. I did those things way late in life. Early in life, it's just high school. I finished high school. I was out on my own. So I finished high school on my own. Had to grow up very quickly. And just like Leigh here with S.A.M, it was an education, everything she did, and it was a better education than she probably could have got if she paid for it. But S.A.M and me and people like us, Gov, we're on one end of the bell curve. We're not in the middle of the bell curve. Most prefer to receive their information from a trustworthy source, and most don't actually question whether or not that source is truly trustworthy. So this is what Leigh's friend was, right? Believe my government, everything they said. I know that, Gov, you cringe when that happens, when you hear people say that, but you know there's a lot of them out there. Another comment from Gov, I'm not getting a Gov education. Yeah, exactly. So government-based education or not, those are like the two choices. And if it's government-based, they're going to get exactly what they're trying to get into you. All right, Peter, there is education and there's training. Yep. One allows you to come to your own conclusions. The other eases your critical thinking, and our children receive at school. 100%. I had this conversation with my wife, and sorry, Padge, but I'm throwing you under the bus on this one. So I was teaching her how to do the chats. And look, I was being very explicit on this. I am training you, and I only want you to do these things. I don't want you to be creative. I don't want you to go discover. I don't want you to go and try things on the live stream, because that's not the place to find out, oops, shouldn't have hit that button, or, oh my, that's what that does. It's not the place in the live stream. So I had a conversation with her about, self-discovery, independent thinking, go ahead and do what you want, versus in this context, during these 2 hours, in order to ensure that we have the best quality stream possible, I have to have a very predictable and understood relationship on this particular thing. So we had to have the conversation about, do not go outside your training. Stick within the training, because if you go outside your training, it'll be an unknown for me and I won't know what's going on. It'll be a distraction. You may take the stream down, all this kind of stuff. So we went through this process of trying to separate the independent person that she is from the person I need to function for this 2-hour period. Is that wrong of me? Is that what I needed? Do you guys have the best stream? I didn't have to touch a thing today. It's working out. But yeah, when they do training, you are molding. Educating, you are informing. Very, very different processes in the mind. Thank you for pointing it out, Peter. Gov Corrupt again. Jason, what are your thoughts on this? In Canada, you have to wait 2+ years to see a specialist in Canada, but you can get approved for MAIDs in under a week. I'm going to correct you. MAIDs can be approved same day now, Gov. They waived that 10-day period. You can actually get it same day. I think it's bloody horrible. I think there's a whole bunch of things that's horrible about this. Even the legal system, you got to wait like years to get justice on simple things, but yet you can end of life. And by the way, 4 out of 5 end of life, suicide related deaths in Canada are government now. People are way behind. Government is winning that war. They are end of lifing more people than people are doing. And you guys should be well aware that that should be a big red flag. Like a big red flag. The government is outpacing humans 4-1, 5-1, 5-1. That's incredible. So that's my take on that, Gov. It's horrible. Absolutely horrible. Azario, want to see what's going on happening with Billboard Chris and Josh Alexander today. Yeah, I'm going to pay attention to that after I get off the stream. It's going to be a big thing. Yeah, I put my support. I think what they made a call out for security because Antifa said we're going to attack them. Basically, is putting out the call to attack them. So I put out the call for people to be witnesses. Bring your cameras, bring some batteries, capture everything, get every second and every millimeter of that event. The camera is a defense. It does slow people down. And if you do end up capturing some bad things from the other side, at least we have that. So I'm not going to call for people to be security or to fight. That would be a bad idea. But what is a good idea is to go there with your cameras, be at a safe distance, cover it all. In addition to security, that would be very helpful. So if you're in the Ottawa area, grab your camera, go down there and capture. It's the best way to keep them at bay. And then Charlie said, I just waited 2 years for shoulder surgery and then sent home with medication, can't tolerate and no help. Made crossed my mind. Please, Charlie, don't ever let that cross your mind again. We love you far too much. Please talk to us next time. And I'm generally healthy. Another easy way out, in my opinion. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. But if you could relate the shoulder surgery to some gender ideology thing, like I feel like a man and I need this fixed, you'd be in there in a week. If it was related to your identity, they would get you in there very quickly. And that's horrible. But Charlie, there is some things that are broken in the system. This is Canada. Healthcare is always a major problem. So here we go. I do have to go, folks. I am a little bit over time. My Ali has reminded me again. I needed to say a few things, and I'm glad that you're all still here. So, Patch, go ahead and throw some goodbyes up there, and I'll go ahead and say goodbye. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today on the stream. Yep, it wasn't like yesterday. Yesterday was a lot of action, a lot going on, a lot being said. It felt very produced because I was being a producer behind the scenes. I was lining up the chat. I was getting the guest and the panel ready, and bam, 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 because that's all the time we had. So I thank you for joining this more relaxed end of the week show, and I'm really, really glad that you're here. Our guest on Monday is Rob Anders. He was a Conservative MP in Alberta. He fights against gun control and gun laws and basically government overreach. So on Monday, it's not a PPC person, it's a CPC person. So we're going to hear from him. We got him for the entire time. Tuesday, we have our very own Tammy Croft joining us. Tammy, you're on. Be ready for it. It's going to be Tuesday. What we're going to be doing there is we're going to be talking to Canadians and just hear her story. I think this could be something we regularly do, where we bring a Canadian on and just hear their story. You don't have to be an advocate. You don't have to have a mission. You don't have to have an organization. You just have to be Canadian, and then we'll have a nice little chat with you. So, Tammy, that's on Tuesday. Wednesday is going to be our Coast to Coast. We're going to expand it to 4 hours. Okay. The 2-hour show, people wanted more. So we're going to expand it to 4 hours. We're going to try that. I'm not sure what time it's going to start yet because I do have to eat and stuff like that. But I'm going to find a period that works so that Coast to Coast, we have it full. There'll be 2 guests on each segment. We've got 2 in Quebec now. We're filling up that panel. So Wednesday, it looks like it'll be 4 hours of Coast to Coast Canadians. And then Thursday, Donald Best. Finally. Okay. We had him scheduled for Thursday, but Max said, I need that spot. So Donald was awesome about that. And by the way, I did give Donald the choice. We can keep it and try and find another time for Max or not. Donald said, let's do it. So we get to see him on Thursday. We'll hear his whole story on how he was persecuted by the justice system that's there to be there for us. I don't put those clips up, guys. I'll do that. Thank you. Who's supposed to be there for us. And he's going to tell us his struggles that he went through. And then on Friday, we have Corey. Oh, I just lost his name. But he's from the Western Standard. He's a reporter from the Western Standard. So much like Andrew Lawton, I'm reaching out to the independent journalists out there, and we're going to get Corey from the Western Standard. Apologies, Corey, that I don't have your name in front of me. I'm trying to use my memory on this one, but he was very gracious. We worked it out. He'll be here Friday. So that's going to be next week. And then to remind you, this is the last Good Morning with Jason episode. This is the last one. So this is the last time I'll be doing a 2 hours live. What I'll be doing in the morning is replaying the previous day. So what you can expect on Monday is I'll come on and say, good morning. We'll have some chats. I'll have coffee with Clay, and then I'll replay the video. I'm going to do Leigh's video because that's the format. So the Friday, Monday morning, and then et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But if you're the morning person, Tuesday will be the first time where you're going to get some new content, because that will be Monday night's show, which will be Rob Anders, but you'll have that Tuesday morning to watch. So bear with me on Monday morning. Please show up. I'd like to see you here. It helps the algorithm and all that good stuff. So do show up for Monday's show, even though you just watched Leigh. Come and hang out, do the chat, and then just leave it on the background. Like, get me that view. Give me a like as well. And then let's go through all of this good stuff at the end here, folks. I'm trying to get some sort of system so I can remind everybody, because it does help. We got a lot of subscribers yesterday. So remember to go ahead and put comments in the bottom. If I don't get to them right away, I will get to them. So make sure you do leave them. If you're watching this as a replay, put the comment in. I will get to it. Do subscribe now. Don't forget to do that. Sorry about the graphics. We're still working on the graphics, but we'll get you another one. But do subscribe now. It helps a lot, and you won't miss an episode. I have gotten reports from people that don't get notifications, even with the bell on. If you run into problems, try turn it off, turn it back on. Subscribe, unsubscribe, subscribe. Do what you can to keep connected, or just set your schedule, because YouTube is playing games. But do it. It does help a bit, and we are trying to get to more additional tools out of YouTube. This is not a monetary thing. This is a access to functionality thing. So we're trying to get more subscribers. Let's get over that hip. And that actually reminds me, I know you've all been staring at it today, because it's very, very important to me. My little guy, JJ, is very proud of me. He loves this stream. He's talking about it all the time. He's very, very proud of me. And what he did was, when we got to 500, which we got to yesterday on subscribers, he made me my own play button for 500 subscribers. So JJ, thank you so much. This means everything to me. Every one of these subscribers was hard work. I had to earn them. I didn't buy a single one of them. That offer comes all the time. So they're all earned. So if you are watching this and you're not a subscriber, JJ wants to see 1,000. I need to get to 1,000 for more tools. Help us out. And JJ, thank you for the play button. It's the most special one I have. We're also live streaming on Rumble, Odyssey, Twitch, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Anywhere else we should be? We are everywhere, live streaming it right now. I can see green check marks across the board. Thank you, Clay. JJ did a great job. And to you in my live chat, oh, we're going to need a different graphic there, Ali. You see how this graphic is no good? We love chatting to the live chat. Clay, Ellen, Prairie, Rosario, please don't be mad at me if I didn't say your name, because there's so many of you in there, and I love you all. But that's one of the most important things of this show, is connecting directly real time with Canadians. So please go ahead and chat. And this is an important one to me. If you like it, clip it. YouTube has a little clip thing at the bottom. If you know how to take the video and clip it, please, please, please do. Not everybody wants to sit through 2.5 hours, but there's a very important thing said here. It takes a lot of effort on our side to do that. I spent 5 hours yesterday making 12 clips for the Maxine episode, because I was just getting bombarded with people asking for clips. So if you like anything, clip it. And if you can't clip it, tell us. We're going to do our best to get the clips out ourselves. But if there's something that you like, let us know, and we'll do that. And then please join our Discord server. You can go in there, look for us, Jason Levine MP. You'll find us. What we'll try and do is get an invite to anybody that reaches out to us that wants one. And Zario or Prairie or anybody that's in Discord and in my chat with the ability, go ahead and throw the Discord link in from time to time in the chat so that people know where that is. And then, of course, thank you to Ali, to Padge today. You guys were amazing yesterday. We had, by far on the numbers, our biggest episode. It was good for the reach. It was good for the attention. Subscribers went up, Twitter went up, a whole bunch of things went up. But I am just one dude. Behind me are other people. So thank you very much to my wife, Padge, and thank you very much to Ali. Sorry for keeping you a little bit long here today, Ali, but that's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. And last little bit news on my book. We got about 2 weeks behind on schedule, and this was just about scheduling. So much came up over the last 2 weeks with the show. I did not have time. I'm going to get it to you. I think it's important information, but please bear with me on that one. And that's it, everybody. This was a longer episode. We got to chat with a student who is frustrated. I don't know about the clips. Oh, nice. I didn't. Yeah, in YouTube, right at the bottom, underneath my video, there's a clip button. Clip away. Clip, 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 clip. You guys have my full consent to clip away. Have a wonderful weekend, everyone, from Tammy. See you on Monday and literally see you Tuesday. This is going to be a good one. She's got a lovely story. Go to her YouTube, watch some of her videos. You'll get to know her a lot more. And 500 strong. Right, Peter? Hoorah! Started with 1, grew to 500. And yeah. And JJ says, thank you, Daddy. Oh, JJ, can you hear this? Are you listening right now? We love you, JJ. You are a sweetheart. You're my biggest fan. You and Jacob always fill me up with nothing but joy. And I strongly believe that if the left had a lot more parents, they'd be a lot happier. Children are wonderful. Have a good weekend, everybody. Take care, Charlie. Take care, Clay. We'll all see you bright and early on Monday. And remember, I love you, and God bless.